What is up, my friends? Welcome to the video. In this video, we are going to talk about this inverted yield curve that I've kind of missed. We're also going to talk about some other recession indicators here, building this storyline further that there are some big changes that will be happening in 2019. It's going to be a very interesting year. Will this be the year of the Great Recession? Is this the last straw, the last indicator we will see for a recession? No. Is this the biggest indicator for a recession? No. It is just simply another one. And all of them, when you stack them together, all that proves is that you need to make a plan for yourself. So we've got, to catch you up, we've got the Basel III starting to be rolled out at the end of this month. We've got some interesting things happening with quantitative easing. Federal Reserve came out and said that it's going to cut all rate hikes for the rest of the year, just for shits and giggles, I assume, because they're trying to be nice guys. No, it's because they're trying to avoid a recession. And there's no more room to go. We can't go negative unless they decide to do some kind of dual currency system, which is on the table with the IMF. So you got to watch the IMF and the Bank of International Settlements for what's going to get rolled out at the Federal Reserve level and central bank level. So we've got those things going on, which are interesting. Obviously, indicators, and the central banks have been stashing up on gold. That lies merit to the gold silver. Will we jump on a gold silver standard? No, probably not. There needs to be some sort of deflationary event first, and we need to burn off a lot more currency, I feel like. And then also too, I think in the beginning, it won't be 100% gold standard or silver standard. It will be some sort of alternate. And I think there's a place for cryptocurrencies, which very few people are talking about because I think that they don't understand them. You know, you got a lot of quote unquote research agencies like Agora, Oxford, Casey Research. Those guys are all starting to kind of come more and more into crypto as S&P does worse and worse, and it's because it's on its last legs. I feel like I think that there's going to be a major amount of losses posted this year for standard S&P 500 investors. So anyways, let's dive into this. So the yield curve that everyone's talking about is the 3-month treasury bill versus the 10-year treasury bill. When those two invert, it is essentially a recession indicator. Haven't seen this since 2007. Here's a shot of that. Here's a better shot what that looks like. This is just another piece of the pie. We've also got some other bad news from similar countries, but we'll get to that in just a second. The spread between a 3-month and 10-year notes has fallen below 10 basis points for the first time since 2007. An inverted yield curve where short-term yields are higher than their longer-term counterparts is considered a reliable recession indicator. The Federal Reserve this week said the U.S. economy is still strong, but is facing challenges from global weakness. Yeah, that's not what it is. Everything yields to the central banks once again caring about themselves first and shoring themselves up for some sort of recession versus everybody else. You got to kind of look at these. There's so many little indicators too. Like there's so many other YouTube channels talking about recessions now and how to get ready for the 2020 recession. And it's becoming popular now and clickbaity to talk about this great recession that's coming in 2020. I think it's going to hit before that. I think we're already seeing indicators of it now. And in the second quarter this year, you're really going to start to see it. But hey, I could be wrong and I'm okay with that. So there's that piece. I wanted to show you something else. Okay, what did I want to show you here? U.S. stocks saw the biggest one-day percentage decline since January 3rd, as weak factory data from the U.S. and Europe led to an inversion. Yep, already talked about that. Dow Jones fell 460 points, 1.7%, 54 points on S&P 500. Okay, so the rupee is down, 10-year bond yields down. India's 10-year bonds yields fell 7.5% on Friday, 7.52. Some more that have fallen is Tokyo fell 2%. I don't think it was quite 2% actually. The biggest slide since December. Equities were down more than 1% in Hong Kong, Shanghai and Seoul, while European futures were lower. Australia's 10-year bond yield recorded an all-time low, and Japan's hit lowest since 2016. Quite a bit down with these treasury bonds, right? But it's okay because you can listen to somebody like Larry Kudlow, who said that, I believe he said the war in the Middle East was good for American growth. We're reading the spread wrong, he said. It's a flattening yield curve. There's no recession in sight. That's obviously bullshit. Mortgages, let's look at that really quick. Average mortgage rate on popular 30-year fixed, which has been sitting at 4.4%, fell sharply to 4.34, the lowest in over a year and 19 base points lower than a year ago. Here's another look at that. We see they're starting to come down on a 15 and a 30, both coming down based on Fed data. So mortgage rates coming down, interest rates cut for the rest of the year, quantitative easing continuing for the next 6 months, somewhere between $200 and $300 billion being printed. But also as a lot of these bonds are expiring, they're just burning that money. So QT, I don't know. you guys know my position. I think it's like a ADD kid who you've given too much caffeine to and you're just praying that he never comes down. That's essentially what's going on. And everyone's playing the game. We're all spending as soon as we get the money because God forbid we hold on to it. Inflation is deteriorating our purchasing power. So we're continuing the madness. I'm just wondering when the wheels are going to kind of fall off. I don't think it's going to be a big, dramatic, sharp thing. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw before. Maybe 1 or 2x bigger or worse or faster than what we saw in 2007 to 2009. So maybe instead of taking 2 years, it started in 2006, taking 2 years to play out, maybe it takes a little bit less than that, or it's bigger because it might just involve the whole damn globe at this point. There's some interesting things I'm finding out about China and the actual amount of money that they've been printing and how that's just being dispersed across the globe, setting everybody up for failure because they're printing this garbage currency and then just pumping it out into the world. But I'll probably shoot a dedicated video on that. Anyways, friends, that's all I've got for you. Some more indication. If you haven't watched the other videos on the channel, watch those. I'm mounting quite a bit of data on all these indicators. So there's 2 things that are for sure happening is a recession, and there is something coming out of the back of that, which is some sort of dual currency or maybe even a shift out of a treasury-backed fiat currency into something else, cryptocurrency, etc. And you guys have heard, you know, kind of my whole position on that, so I won't go through it again. But there's definitely going to be some things changing in the months and years to come. So it's best to make a plan and work that plan every single day. And I know that a lot of people look at news like this and they think that it's scary, and they allow themselves to get triggered and all kind of worked up about it. But it really is in your best interest to let that pass, let that feeling pass instead of interacting with that feeling, and to allow the next things to come up, which are usually ideas and much better than the first idea that you get, and start to make a plan for you and your family, because there are many options. And I think this is going to be an insane bull run for a lot of people. As long as they have the right assets in place and they're ready for this and they're prepared, they are going to get very, very wealthy, because there's going to be a serious shift and there's going to be a lot of redistribution of wealth which occurs during these times. So be prepared, that way you don't have to be scared. Quick update, guys. It's been a few days since I shot that video, so more has arisen since then. I wanted to give you the most up-to-date information. So the yield curve has continued to flatten. It has not rebounded at all, even though the S&P bounced back about 15 points for close that day. Former Fed Chair Yellen says yield curve may signal need to cut rates, not a recession. She was out in Hong Kong for a conference, as well as Charles Evans was out there too, which runs the Chicago Fed Reserve. And so here's what he had to say. The whole situation caused the Singapore market to drop almost 1% as well, even though it rebounded by Tuesday. But he said, Charles Evans, president of Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, said on Monday that structural changes in interest rates indicate the inversion may not be as significant as it once was. It isn't the end-all be-all in terms of indicators, but it is another piece of the pie, and we're seeing a lot of those become really, really red flags lately with student debt bubble, corporate debt bubble, personal debt bubble. Consensus data is still showing that the average income is $36,000 a year. These are all growing concerns because the cost of living has obviously gone way up, and the amount of debt in the United States, 22 trillion, all-time high. So these are all concerns. But anyways, we have to take into account that there's been a secular decline in long-term interest rates. Evans said at the Credit Suisse, is that what that is? Asian Investment Conference in Hong Kong on Monday, the 10-year Treasury rate is a lot lower. Term prima are lower as well. He added that the inversion of the 2-year Treasury note yield over the 10-year Treasury note on Friday was pretty narrow at just 14 base points. So that's it. Nothing too crazy, but essentially people are now starting to come out and say, hey, don't even worry about that. That's not an indicator anymore. It still is an indicator, so don't let that fool you. And you should still definitely make your plan for how you would handle this, right? And it's going to be different for everybody with family, single person, etc. So best thing I'd say is start to do your research if you haven't already, and start to put together your plan, my friends. All right, that's all I got for you, my friends. If you like this video and you want to show some support, click the thumbs up button. If you found our channel through playlist, suggested search, or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm so happy that you're here. If you like what we're doing, this is what we talk about on a regular basis. Give us a subscribe and go ahead and click the bell notification so that way you know more of our content as soon as it drops. And if you got something to say, go ahead and place a comment underneath the video. And all the relevant links are underneath the video in case you want to support us beyond subscribe and a like and a comment and all that fun stuff. There are other options there, or check out some other resources we've got for you. Be on the lookout, my friends. More videos dropping soon. Bye.